Good evening, I'm Willard Cheng, sitting in for Pinky Webb. Tonight, we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla, now the government's chief graft-buster. As the new ombudsman, Remulla will lead the agency tasked with investigating and prosecuting public officials accused of wrongdoing. His appointment comes amid a deepening probe into officials allegedly involved in massive kickbacks from anomalous flood control projects. Now, what kind of ombudsman will Remulla be? And what will it really take to break the cycle of corruption? Let's get on point with former Presidential Spokesperson Edwin Lacierda. Great to see you again, sir. And
Hi, Willard. Ni hao ma.
Ni hao, and have this opportunity to spar with you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pick your brains on the day's top issues. First, the President's pick for Ombudsman, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla. Were you surprised at all?
No, I wasn't surprised because it was, for me, it was an insurance policy for the President. Because after he leaves, he would expect, especially if the other candidate, if the other camp wins, you'll expect a slew of cases. So it's an insurance policy to appoint someone friendly. Plus, this is, except for the time of President Aquino, we appointed someone who was not close to us, Justice Chit Carpio. But if you look at the case of President Duterte, he appointed Justice Martires. And look at how he protected the President even after his term or so, at the term of President Duterte. So, I would not be surprised. Plus, cabinet official yan eh. Mapapahiya yung si Secretary Remulla pag hindi siya na-appoint. And that's why, alam naman ng tao, that's why people kept on filing cases against him. With the hope of stopping the appointment.
And the Ombudsman, sir, has a term of office of 7 years.
7 years.
And he's expected to stay in the post until 2032 beyond.
That's why it's a protection. It's an insurance policy for President Marcos.
And being a lawyer, you know this better than I do, that the Ombudsman is supposed to be a non-partisan, independent watchdog of government and a very important and powerful role in investigating wrongdoing and corruption. And having seen up close how then President Noynoy Aquino picked the like of Justice Conchita Carpio Morales, as you mentioned, for the post, do you think the new ombudsman will be up to the task?
We hope that he will be up to the task, but more often than not, it's really a political appointee. There is no question on that. The Constitution grants a power on the President to appoint. No? And although it passed to the Judicial and Bar Council, but you would see a number of the candidates are close to the President. There are only two who really objectively perform the task of ombudsman without fear or favor. The first one was Sonny Marcelo, under President GMA, and who earned the ire of GMA because he really worked his role as an ombudsman. The second one was Justice Chit Carpio Morales, to the point that she in fact filed a case against President Aquino. Much to the consternation of President Aquino, but that's the role of an ombudsman. Talagang without fear or favor yan eh. And if you and si Justice Chit, he told me she was recently asked, and it was mentioned in an interview. She told me personally that when she was offered the post of ICI, the one condition she said was, "Look, if you're going to appoint me, I am impervious to influence."
Okay.
And the caller never called back.
Okay, hindi na siya binalikan.
Hindi na siya binalikan. Because mabigat ang burden to be really objective, and you have to, the appointing power have to be prepared na kung talagang mag-appoint ng isang matino, pwede kang tamaan. Diba? That's the reality of it. But the question is, there are very few who have really been doing that. Si Justice Remulla, Ombudsman Remulla, will now have, there's pressure on him to really be up to the task of being a true ombudsman.
What then, sir, should the new ombudsman prioritize, especially that we know that the ombudsman can initiate investigation on its own?
Well, the cases that are being filed now with the ICI, investigated by ICI, pinasa na sa ombudsman eh. Now that there's an ombudsman, and the call of the times is really, di ba, ang sinasabi ng sigaw, ikulong yang mga corrupt. So, I think uunahin niya talaga itong ICI recommendations sila to file cases. But I hope it doesn't stop there kasi ang bigat talaga ng trabaho And so much corruption. It was, remember in our time, the scam was around 10 billion.
Yeah.
Now it's over 1 trillion. It's just 10 billion, just 1% of
Yeah.
1 trillion. So ang daming trabaho ni Ed at hindi pa yun. Malaki mga taong babanatan niya.
Oo.
Allies. Most of them allies.
At possibly na kamag-anak din, sir?
Posible kamag-anak rin kasi it's about yung mga kasama niya lahat nasa legislature congressman si Boying noon, di ba? So ang laking dapat ipatunay ni Ombudsman ni Remulla na objective ako. Ang laking pressure.
And how do you see, sir, the new Ombudsman handle cases related to the Dutertes? Do you see the Ombudsman doubling his efforts to run after the family?
Right now, right now, that's why they're going heaven and earth to stop the appointment of Boying Remulla. But I think as a sign of objectivity, this is our favorite mantra. It is a mantra also of Ping Lacson. We will go where the evidence lies. Pag yan ang sinabi mo, how can you go against that? Kung may ebidensya, pupunta doon si Boying. Whether kalaban o kaibigan, dapat doon pumunta yung kaso. That's why sila Sonny Marcelo, sila Justice Chit, diretso yun. Even si Laila, when she was Justice Secretary, they went where the evidence were. So talagang, pag yan ginawa ni Boying Remulla, regardless of kaalyado niya or kalaban niya tulad nila Pangulong Duterte, he will earn the respect, at least always half of the population because nag-aaway yung dalawang kampong yan. So, but definitely there will be credibility if he follows where the evidence leads them.
At hindi magpo-prosper malamang ang anumang impeachment effort laban sa kanya kung may magtangka.
Pero hindi naman siguro magpo-prosper kasi hawak naman ng House yung At saka, sa totoo lang, pinahirapan ng Supreme Court ang impeachment ngayon So, bago ka makapag-impeach papasa sa House, ang daming ginawang regulations ng Supreme Court, make it so hard to file an impeachment case right now, which I think is a bad decision.
Sino ho tingin nyo dapat pumalit naman sa kanyang nabakanting posisyon as Justice Secretary?
Sa akin?
Yeah.
May alam ako, pero hindi ko pwedeng sabihin. Si Ray Marfil, mas maalam yan. So, pero, ang sa akin, yung mga kasama doon, kilala namin si Mike Aguinaldo, dating COA chair, dating nag-DESLA yun, kay Executive Secretary Jojo Ochoa, matinong bagay siyang maging Justice Secretary.
Na napasama sa shortlist.
Nasama sa shortlist. Kilala rin namin si Justice Musni, Pero in terms of seniority, in terms of objectivity, maganda ang dating ni ang aura ni Mike Aguinaldo. Sa akin, pabor ako kay Mike Aguinaldo. Sana wag ma-appoint yung chinichismis nila. Sila yung bahala magsabi sa inyo kung sinong...
And Mr. Aguinaldo has experience also in constitutionally independent commission. Ano po? Tama
Yes.
ba?
Yeah. COA. He was a COA chair. So, he performed admirably there as a COA chair. So, there's really... I hope he would use that... the president would appoint Mike Aguinaldo. And by the way, in fairness also, Mike is a entity that is also familiar to the first couple. So somehow the wife worked for the first lady. So there's a bit of a relationship, which is I don't think would be taken against him because objectively he has done his job very well.
And he also served during Pinoy's term.
He was the DESLA or the Deputy Executive Secretary for I think Legal Affairs.
Yeah.
So he was also there. There was no question on his competence. And he was from Ateneo, which is a big mark.
I agree. I agree.
But seriously, he is a very good lawyer.
All right. Relatedly, sir, meantime, there's a developing story in the Senate. Senator Lacson resigning as the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, and now Senate President Soto floating names of possible replacements. Among them, Senators Risa Ontiveros, Kiko Pangilinan, Pia Cayetano, Raffy Tulfo, and J.V. Ejercito. Who do you think, sir, should replace
Well,
Senator
J.V.
Lacson?
said no. Raffy said no. Pia is quiet. What I heard was it was offered to Kiko, but Kiko pointed to Risa. So apparently, but I think it's like what they said. It's a Herculean job. It's very difficult given that you'll be inevitably hitting people among the Senate and also in the House. So it's a very sensitive job. And the equilibrium of the majority depends on how the Blue Ribbon conducts this hearing. Like the reason why there was a threat that the majority there was going to be a coup, it all boiled down to because of the Senate Blue Ribbon investigation on the flood control. So since the focus right now is the flood control, and names are coming out, the names of the senators, and a new development came in also. Before he left, before he was appointed Ombudsman, Secretary Remulla filed cases against the Villars, or at least mentioned the Villars as will be investigated. So those are two people in the majority. They can flip. If they're persecuted, I would imagine that they can flip and extract a promise from the other side that we won't be investigated. That's a practical reality. So it's a very sensitive situation. Whoever handles the Senate Blue Ribbon will affect the majority. The conduct will affect the majority. But it also shows one thing. It shows how weak the hold of the president on the Senate. Even if you say that the 24 senators are what we call 24 independent republics, at the very least, the president should have a hold on the majority. And that's why people are saying this is a very thin majority. And the president does not have that much control. Obviously, we know that the House is under his control. But the Senate, notwithstanding being independent republics, they always have some measure of control on the Senate itself.
And you could not afford to lose.
You could not afford to lose even one. And the rest will just go along the others. Diba? So, but you have Pia Cayetano, whose brother is on the other side. Then the two Villars, the one Villar is subject to an investigation.
And they just,
possibly.
And they just jump to the majority.
They just jump to the majority. So it's really very tenuous. The majority's hold is very tenuous, notwithstanding the fact that Senator Soto said that we are stable. It's an equilibrium that would have to be monitored on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis at the very least.
Remains to be seen. Ano?
It remains to be seen.
All right. We'll just take a short break and we'll continue our discussion with former Presidential Spokesperson Edwin Lacierda when we return. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back, and still with us, former Presidential Spokesperson Edwin Lacierda. And sir, let's just continue our discussion about the developments in the Blue Ribbon Committee. Were you surprised by the resignation of Senator Lacson?
I think it was, I would share the opinion of Senator Frank Dillon that it was a way of appeasing the members of the majority who felt that the investigation was going out of control. And so because there was a strong concern from a number of the members of the majority, such that if they move, they will lose control on the Senate majority. Something has to give. And so that was one way of appeasing those members of the Senate who felt that the conduct of the hearing was getting out of control, which I also disagree, because I think Senator Ping Lacson was was very much in control of the hearing. I think where the problem lay was when he said, he stirred a hornet's nest. When he said, lahat naman yan, dalawa lang walang insertions. That was the thing that really, I think, irritated some of the members. For what reason? Maybe I don't know what the reasons are, but it really stirred a hornet's nest such that was a time when after that, there were already discussions of, if you notice, by the way, Senate President Tito Soto had to backtrack and explain what he meant. That's why he had to explain insertions and explain what, essentially, without appearing to correct Ping, he really just made a clarification on what Senator Lacson said. It really, I think, stirred the hornet's nest and also prompted a possibility of people being disillusioned with the majority. And in fact, JV mentioned Sherwin Gatchalian and JV himself. So there was a possibility that Alan Cayetano might become the new Senate President, which, because he didn't get it, he's made a statement born of a bruised ego. Why don't we all resign? Which is really a nothing burger. Because if he had obtained Senate presidency, do you think he would say that? No, because he didn't. And that's why it was a statement born of Bruce ego.
And do you think, sir, these coup rumors, coup attempts will prosper against SB Soto, given how things are?
That's a concern. That's really a concern. That I'm glad that Tito Soto is a very people person. That's his advantage. But again, the conduct of the election, the Senate Blue hearing will determine the interplay of the Senate members, specifically of the majority. Because you're only looking at what's a 59. You've got a six-person lead. I mean, majority over the minority, which is quite thin. And also, the loyalties are very, very also thin.
And
So-
where then should the next hearings of the Blue Ribbon Committee head moving forward?
It's a good question to ask because I think the senators have always been complaining, bakit kami lang ang tinatamaan rito? So, and the other thing, it seems like, rightly or wrongly, they felt the names of the other people were mentioned, and immediately someone would ask for, can we send notices or invitations to them? Saldico's name has been mentioned. Martin Romualdez's name has been mentioned. And in spite of that, there were no immediate, let's send invitations to them. Under the guise of interparliamentary courtesy. But interparliamentary courtesy does not stop you from sending an invitation to the other chamber. It just means that once an invitation has been sent, and if you refuse, I cannot cite you for contempt. That's interparliamentary courtesy, but the sending of the invites should have been done so that to quell this appearance of favoritism. And now that they've done that, had Senator Ping Lacson not resigned, I think the invitation has been sent or would have been sent immediately to both personalities. Unfortunately, there was just too much noise, theatrics inside, a concern within the Senate majority.
Senate leadership, yeah. And you've been vocal, sir, about the need for the ICI to conduct its hearings in public in the name of transparency, but with the ICI apparently not budging. What do you think should the committee do to make its findings credible to the public?
The problem is one of the members there refused to open the hearings to the public. I mean, I'm certain it is not Secretary Babe Singson because we were brought under the rubric of transparency and accountability under President Aquino. So it's because of that lack of transparency that makes people pause. Is this going to be fixed? So until such time that the ICI conducts its hearings in public, and by the way, it's not so much what's the term that they used? It was a trial by publicity.
Yeah.
Remember, the fear was we don't want to conduct a trial by publicity. You're not conducting a trial by publicity. It's a hearing, number one. Number two, you're not going to decide on their fate. You're going to do a recommendation to Ombudsman. So why are you afraid to conduct the things in public? And thirdly, you've got only 3 members. You're not the 15 members of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. You don't have, supposedly, theoretically, you don't have political biases. So why are you concerned about conducting a trial by publicity when the 3 of you were trained or were appointed to make sure that all the evidences should come out and we pursue and sue and file cases and prosecute cases against those who are culpable? So the thinking is so they're assuming too much. They just open it to the public. Hindi maniniwala ang ICI. Ang saving grace nila si Babe Singson because the lady, she might be honorable, but we don't know the lady.
The auditor.
The auditor. So it's Babes. What if, I'm sure, kaya ang saving grace ng ICI na yan, si Babe Singson, they're hanging on the credibility of Babe Singson. But if Babe Singson, umalis yan, tumbay ang ICI na yan eh. Kaya masyadong manipis din ang credibility ng ICI. Kaya mag-hearing sila sa public and nobody will fault them. Iba yung tenor ng conduct ng hearings. 3 kayo, wala kayong political alliances. You can conduct the trial objectively or the hearing objectively.
Naalala ko, sir, in public ginawa yung hearing during Pinoy's time, yung committee that investigated the hostage-taking incident in Luneta, no?
Kay Laila,
Justice
si
Secretary
Jessie
Lima,
Robredo.
Parang ganun ang magiging
Yun, oo.
lakad nun. May
Kasi-
mga political allies involved doon, si President Aquino, pero ginawang public.
Oo, ginawang public. Ginawang public yun kasi yan ang hiningi talaga, lalo in a crisis. The first thing that you should do is to be open, to be transparent. And theoretically, you have no vested interest. Anong vested interest? Ba't natatakot ka? Di ba parang nakakapagtaka, you have no skin in the game, tapos ayaw mo mag-public hearing. Anong tinatago mo? May utos ba sa'yo huwag gawin ng public hearing? I'm very suspicious on that point. And I'm not suspecting Babe Singson's credibility.
Okay, that leaves us with a
That leaves
few
us
number.
the same thing
Personalities.
that Justice Chit mentioned.
And related to the budget process for 2026, this budget cycle, do you think, sir, the bicameral conference meetings should be also open to the public, in the name of transparency, to avoid insertions and diversions, as what Congressman Erisa mentioned last night in his privilege speech? How do you think should the budget process be held?
You know why dapat buksan lahat ng publiko itong hearing na to? Kasi before itong flood control project na to, walang pakialam ang tao sa budget. It's so esoteric.
Yeah.
Pagdating sa budget, hindi namin kaya kasi numbers yan. But now people have realized, lintik kayo, ang daming trillion ninanakaw mo sa amin. Kaya nga nagkakagulo yung sa insertion and amendment. Kasi dati, we don't care. We don't care how you use the terms insertion and amendments. So let's be proper with the way we use the term amendments and with the term we use insertion. Kaya pag kaya ang sinabi ni Ping Lacson, nagkaroon ng negative connotation kapag insertion, kumikita kayo. That's why, dahil alam na ng tao and concerned sila and galit sila sa budgeting, ibukas lahat yan. Kahit na baykan, para wala na yung mga small committee, para everything is public. Without being public, things happen in the dark.
Hanggang sa dulo,
Hanggang sa dulo.
Bago
Ba't kayo matatakot kung matino ang trabaho nyo?
Mabito man o hindi.
Mabito man. Pag hindi mabito yan at may pumalpak, kasalanan ni Presidente. Trabaho niya yung last mile. He vetoes the last mile, the line item. He has the power to do that. And if nakatakas pa ron, negligent na rin siya.
Alright. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have with former Presidential Spokesperson Edwin Lacierda. Very interesting conversation, sir. Thank you for your time.
Maraming salamat din.
And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. I'm Willard Cheng, sitting in for Pinky Web. Thank you for watching.